This week, we're back on the road. Lubbock or leave it, as the locals say. Head football coach week with the one stars, the exact perfect human being to lead a big time Texas football program, a recruiting machine. He's gearing up for a huge year three. Texas Tech University head football coach, Joey McGuire.
We're all excited to talk some Big 12 football this week. And as always, this episode of One Star Recruits is brought to you by 500 Level. It's 500level.com for all the best t-shirts on the internet. Patrick Mahomes, Tyree Wilson, all the Red Raiders in the NFL. You can get their t-shirts on 500level.com. They got cartoon shirts. They got State of Texas shirts. They have it all on 500 Level. Discount code podcast at checkout for 20% off everything on the site. Let's go.
This is Coach Joey McGuire. I'm on with the one-star recruits. Wreck 'em. Let's go.
Yo, aloha. Welcome to the One Star Recruits podcast. Graduation weekend this week. Big time. Solid weekend. Mother's Day, graduation weekend combo for a lot of grads out there. Big 12 graduated 86,000. The exact number, Rip, 86,367 graduates from across the Big 12 conference. Seemed actually a little low. That's like the same amount of people that go to some Big 12 football games, right? Rip, across all the schools? Does that seem low to you?
It does seem kind of low, but you got to remember now there's, are we counting the new Big 12 schools? Are we counting Arizona State, Colorado?
Not until next year. So I think there's only 10 of them. But I mean, congratulations. It's still a huge number. Don't get me wrong. That's a lot. I don't know. I would have expected to see in the hundred thousands of graduates. My graduation was Northern Arizona. I mean, it was pretty big. There's a couple thousand people there getting their hotel restaurant management degrees and forestry degrees and whatever else we got in Flagstaff, Arizona in the early 2000s. I'm a big HRM. Big HRM degree, Rip. Hotel restaurant management. You think that's a good decision looking back from the outside looking in? Go ahead and judge me. Good decision or bad decision looking back 2024?
I think overall it's been good. You probably regretted it a little bit during those COVID years when everything was shut down, but now that stuff is booming, I think there's lots of opportunity. Hell, it got you to Hawaii. I'll tell you that much. It's pretty good decision in my opinion.
True. The hospitality degree, that's the one big thing. It does allow you to travel and go live in usually cool places. They don't have a lot of hotels and resorts in the worst places ever, Lubbock style. I'm trying to do my thing, Rip. I'm trying to get courtside seats, get my feet on the hardwood. I've never done it, by the way, in a professional NBA game. I saw Pat Mahomes courtside earlier this week at a Mavs game, watching Luka just complain. Holy shit. I know this isn't me because I've heard this other places. I can't even really see anything else except for him complaining at this point in time when I'm watching Luka play. He does some amazing things. He does some very boring things that kind of, I feel myself going back into my phone or some activity that's like disengaging in the game. It's not some of these NHL playoff games. I can't even look to my right, look to my left. I'm engaged in these things. Luka, he's complaining. It's just a lot of him complaining is what I see when I watch Dallas Mavericks basketball. This is not a hot take, Rip, but it is a problem. Do you see that? Are you seeing that as like a magic eye? Can only certain people see that?
I'm going to plead the fifth. I'm not saying anything bad about any Texas teams on this episode. You can tune in next week for that. But yeah, I mean, Luka, you hear all the stuff about him being hurt. He's supposedly batting like 3 or 4 injuries right now. But, they were right there. We'll see what happens in game 5 if they can steal home court back. But, he's a warrior. But every NBA player is a warrior at this time of year. I couldn't believe Donovan Mitchell didn't play in that Cavs game. He must have been really hurt to not play in that.
That's a head scratcher. Yeah, head scratcher to me at this point is and why you're not playing in these games. Head scratcher, yeah, and good for you, Rip. You're always taking the nice, smooth, lazy river down. Especially when we land in different towns, Texas towns, good old Lubbock, Texas. And I'm rooting for the Mavs too, by the way. I just want Luka. I think he'd be a much better basketball player. There's a couple plays even last game when he either hurt himself or was caught up complaining and the ball kind of found its way back to him mid-complain or mid, I don't know what you call it when you're acting like your ankles are really hurt, but it's not that hurt. Ball came back to him. He was all good. I mean, if we could just go ahead and just close that gap a little bit. I think that's worth 8 to 10 points. And probably defensively, the dude has quick hands. for being so slow. I'm off on a Luka tangent. The NBA is good, Rip. It's hard for me not to get fully consumed this time of year with the NBA, to be honest with you. But I do love football. I do really love college football, bro. And I love the summertime. People getting out there, start their summer activities. In Lubbock, you cruise out to the Buffalo Springs Lake, do some fishing, hang out in the marina. Kind of smells a little bit fishy on those lakes. I remember going to the lakes growing up in Arizona. I didn't care. Smelled a little bit like dead catfish. Fucking so much fun driving in, hopping in that thing. You taking your kids out fishing this summer? Is that a dad activity you signed up for at this point in time? I think you got 7 and 5. You're in prime fishing age group.
Come on, man. You've known me for 25 years. Have you ever heard me talk about fishing? I live in a giant city in California. The only fish I'm getting is at the grocery store, and I can't even get my kids to eat fish, let alone gut one. Come on, DK.
It's an activity you got to get going. As youngsters, even when we lived in man-made lake areas, Kiwanis Lake you can fish in, but you can also go out to the fish farms just to learn how to throw it. Rip, it's very important looking back I wish as an adult I was a more confident fisherman. I didn't do as much fishing now. The very rare times that I get out on a fishing setup and someone has to totally set me up, it's very emasculating is what it is. And you have opportunity to learn now with your kids. I'd get it going. Great summer activity. Probably the best summer activity in all of Texas is getting ready for college football. Talked a lot about a new offensive line. Got some big boys to feed there, Rip. Be honest, bro. Be honest. And we watch what happened in professional football with teams like the New York Jets and some of these teams where the offensive lines cannot figure it out at all. How really it's horrifying. It's a horror movie to watch a team with a bad offensive line.
We've been watching the Arizona Cardinals, our squad, for the last 5 to 10 years have a mediocre at best offensive line. So we know how that feels like. It drags the entire offense down. It puts the quarterback under so much pressure. But when you hear Coach McGuire talk in this interview, things are looking up in Lubbock. We're excited to see what happens. And we got the invite to come down there on September 21st for the Arizona State game. We might have to take them up on that, DK. I know that's right around your birthday, your wedding anniversary, but hey, we go down there, I will go fishing for sure. What is it, Buffalo Springs Lake? Count me in.
Buffalo Springs Lake, throw some tortillas. We're from Arizona. We also love tortillas. We love to throw them too. Pre-game, I'll throw those things up there as high as I can. Graduation hat style. I wonder if people put tortillas on their graduation hat at Texas Tech. Enjoy this interview with head football coach Joey McGuire.
Now joining the One Star Recruits podcast, we have a husband, a father, a native of Texarkana, Texas, a certified wedding officiant, and currently the head football coach at Texas Tech University. Joey McGuire is on with the One Star Recruits. Thanks for hopping on, Coach.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited about this.
We're excited to have you talk some Red Raider football. Let's start off with some wedding officiant talk, though, because for Red Raiders fans, it feels like forever between that gap between when spring football ends and then the start of the season in August. How many weddings do you have lined up this summer? Are you available to officiate for TTU fans?
Be available. I don't have any planned this summer, but I did one last summer. One of our coaches, he played for me at Baylor, James Lockhart. And so that's been one of the coolest things I've ever done, man. You're standing up there in front of God and everybody, and you got two of the incredible people that are on one of the most important days of their lives, and you get to be a part of it. So it's a really cool deal.
It's such a cool thing for you to get involved with, Coach. Let's talk about your real job, head football coach, Texas Tech University. Expectations were high last season. After a good first year, you went 7-6, won a bowl game. Now here we are in year 3. Year 3 seems to be the big year. How has the program changed in the 2 years you've been there, and why will the history books look back on year 3 as the breakthrough year?
Well, it's one of those deals. You guys know we had a lot of hype coming in last year, and I was proud of the way we finished because we were 3-5 at one point, and we were able to get bowl eligible and then win that bowl game. But I always tell everybody I would have never bet that I would play 3 quarterbacks, have to play 3 quarterbacks year 1, and have to play 3 quarterbacks year 2. And so that's been a big focus this spring. of things that we can do to help. Because the first thing everybody talks about is the offensive line, but it's just as much play calling and the quarterback throwing the ball away as it is the offensive line. It's not just one thing. And so year 3, we really focused on, I think last year I probably focused more on talking about winning the Big 12 instead of talking about the process of becoming the brand. And, our brand of football is we want to be the toughest, hardest working, most competitive team in the country. And we really this spring went back to that. Just everything that we talked about every single day is, are we living up to that? Even in practice, putting the practice schedule together, is it a brand type practice? We have one of the strongest groups of captains I've ever been around in my life, and they've pushed that just as much as I have. So I think year 3, I'm excited. We're better in a lot of places. It's important that Baron Morton stays healthy, our starting quarterback. But I think we're in a really good spot whenever it comes to the skill on offense. It was a huge upgrade, skill on offense. And then if you go back to the 70s, Tom Landry nicknamed the Miami Dolphins defense the no-name defense. That's kind of who we are, man. We're too deep in every spot, and I really don't care who's out there, man. These dudes can really play, and that's going to help us play at a really high level whenever it comes to playing defense.
You got some guys that move around on defense. Ben Roberts, Jacob Rodriguez. You say no names, coach. I get what you're saying. I think you guys have got some players that fly around. You mentioned quarterback. Everybody's talking quarterback all the time. It's an important position. We know that. You mentioned Barron, his health, his shoulder. I know he didn't play spring game. I'm not 100% if you all have came out and said he's ready to go. How's the health of Barron? Everybody's a little bit curious about that.
Yeah, he's ready. So we went into our second scrimmage, and he went 14 of 20 through 2 touchdowns. Normally, I think most anybody that's a thrower knows you're going to have some soreness after a game, no matter what. But his shoulder was sore. He came to treatment on Sunday. It was still sore, and he was scheduled to have his normal checkup on Monday. And we were talking to our team doctor, and he was like, "There's no reason to keep doing this if you already know he's your starting quarterback." And he was right, man. He had a great point, because I needed to see what number 2, 3, and 4 were going to do versus what Barron was going to do. And so we shut him down. We've got a 3-month schedule with him. It's almost like what the Colts are doing right now with their quarterback. And, he's on a pitch count. But Barron would be the first one to tell you, he goes, if we play today, then I'm ready to go. It's just we have enough time between that second scrimmage of the spring and August 31st to get that shoulder exactly where we want it to be.
Good. Let's get that shoulder right. I have circled September 21st on my calendar. We're Arizona State Sun Devil guys here, Coach. Don't hold it against us, but we want to see a healthy. We want to see a healthy team on that game, including Barron. He looks very good. How are we feeling at 2, 3, and 4 in that quarterback position? We got anybody you want to talk about? Anybody who's been surprising you?
Yeah, I was really excited. We got a kid, Cameron Brown. He's from Georgia. We were able to get him. He went to the portal, played at West Georgia last year. He's a true dual threat guy. And that's whenever we were looking at if we were going to take a portal quarterback, then we wanted to take a dual threat guy. And what I love about him, a lot of quarterbacks that are dual threat have been told all their life, man, stay in the pocket. If you're going to make it to the next level, you're going to have to be able to throw the ball. No doubt all that's true. But with him, he also knows if he gets pressure, he can pull it down. He's 6'2", he's 230 pounds, and man, he can fly. He had a great spring. He won that number 2 position. The great thing about him, our plan was already to play him no matter what. We're going to have a bunch of different packages for him. And we've done that in the past. We did it more year 1 than we did year 2. But that's the plan with him. I'm really fired up about him.
Dual threat QBs. We love those in Lubbock. Those dual threat QBs are something we always want to get our hands on. Offensive line, though, a necessity. You talked about it. You mentioned it. You hired Clay McGuire to come in. You have 4, I believe, Coach, I could be wrong, 4 new starters. This is important here. We've got to see some improvement. You know that. You've mentioned it. What changes just since Clay has come in have you seen?
Clay is an incredible teacher, and that's what great coaches are. They're great teachers, and he's done a really good job of coming in and putting a plan together. Those guys have a plan all the way up until camp, like in July of what they're going to be doing, June what they're going to be doing. Everybody's off right now, so they're still lifting and running, but they're at home and kind of getting some away time from us. But Clay has really done a good job of coming in. We have so Ty Buchanan, he started in the bowl game at left tackle. We moved him over to right tackle. Caleb Rogers moves from right tackle to right guard. There's a battle right now at center between Sheridan Wilson and Davion Carter. Davion transferred in from Memphis. He started 25 games, 25 college games. And then at left guard is Vinny Scurry. He transferred from Toledo. He has started 33 college games. And then our left tackle was Sterling Prochet, and he came in from Middle Tennessee State, and he started 22 college games. So we do have a new group. It's, when you look at that group, there's they've only been together in the spring, but the great thing is every one of them, I guess besides Sheridan, has started college football games. So that makes a big difference. I mean, Sterling's not going to be shocked. Last year, they opened up, I think, with Alabama and played Missouri in the second game. So it's not like he's going to be, oh, man, this level of football is different. He's played this kind of football. So, feel really good about all those guys. And, they really had a good spring.
It's getting me pumped up. Congratulations on the semi-rebuild at offensive line. This is very exciting. Fans, I'm excited. This is great, Coach.
And it helps when you have some veteran running backs running behind them. But all right, enough football talk, Coach. We're the one stars. We're gonna have some fun. We end every interview with the segment we call 1 star to 5 star. Like I said, we're the 1 stars. Everybody knows it, but we're trying to get better with advice and tips from every guest we have on here, like yourself. So just to close it out, we're gonna ask a few questions that run the gamut on the 1 to 5 star scale. I'm coaching my kids in Little League right now. I absolutely love it. Your dad George coached you growing up, and you had the pleasure of coaching your son Garrett through high school and then at college at Baylor. What's the 5 star tip you took from coaching your own son that you can pass on to dads like me who are going through that right now?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. I use this a lot. We got time for a little story, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, my son's a freshman in high school, and you could tell. I mean, he and I are really close. He rode to work with me every single day, and he's something's wrong, man. And I'm like, gee, what's up? And he goes, man, you don't understand how much pressure it is to be your son. And I kind of was like, well, what do you mean? So to all the guys that are coaching their sons at any level, you got to understand that when you're the coach, certain people think of certain things about your son, whether either you're giving them preferential treatment or they should be better than any of the other players out there. And so whenever he said that to me, I looked him in the eye and I said, Garrett, you need to understand this. I would die for you right now. I love you more than anything in this world. So there is nothing you can do in this world that will make me love you more than I love you. So how about you just relaxing and going and being yourself? And quit worrying about me, because these kids put so much pressure on themselves to please their parent coaches that it's unrealistic, and they're trying to do so much. And so I think we forget that, we just kind of think, hey, they're just having a good life and they're going on and they're glad that their dads are coaching them. But I think we got to do that. I tell my friends that have young kids, my male friends that have young kids, I tell them all the time, man, tell your son that there's nothing that he can do to lose your love. And that takes so much pressure off of him. And so I'll never forget that moment. I can see it. I mean, I could close my eyes and think about that moment and see it right now. I think that's really important. Our kids understand that.
Hey, thank you for that story. That's that pressure is something you can't always see, and that's
Yes.
great perspective right there.
And we're not vulnerable, Rip. We're not vulnerable as men to say that stuff sometimes. I think that's very important. That gave me a little goosebumps, Coach. Thank you for sharing that.
Same. Moving on here. Twitter is my favorite social media platform, and I have to assume it's yours as well. I'm looking at your timeline. You have a big presence. I think you've tweeted or retweeted over 20 times just in the past 24 hours. I can get on my phone and go down a rabbit hole on that app, and it leads to just being on the phone a lot, like late at night or whatever. But so let's say on a scale of 1 to 5 stars, What's your average screen time like? 1 being not enough and 5 meaning way too much. I think I'm at like 5.5 hours a day right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, my wife's going to tell you it's a 5 plus. I mean, if it could go to a 6 or a 7, that's me. That's the one thing I do. I run my own account, which a lot of coaches don't. I'm sure y'all know that, but a lot of coaches don't. They might say they do, but they don't. I use it so much in recruiting. I use it so much in promoting our brand. We've got a huge build going on out here, $250 million facility build. So I always try to put stuff out like that. It's always a good way to follow. It's a huge, like, Twitter is different than like Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. More recruiting goes on Twitter whenever it comes to highlights. So I'm on it way too much, but it's also a good way to connect. But there's really some good stuff out there to follow too that I think is good for mental health. It's good for, there's some really good, I send a lot of stuff to my players as far as like maybe good quotes, but there's some really good D-line clips that are put out. So I always send it to my defensive tackles or defensive ends, stuff like that. So I really use Twitter a lot.
You got a 5-star follow out there that you can throw out and recommend to listeners? What's a good account to follow? Just if you think of one right off the top of your head.
I'm going to follow McCaffrey. I'm going to follow Josh Pate. I'm going to follow stuff like that. I'm trying to think of there's what it's called, because there's a really good app or it's like Mindful something, but it has great quotes if I can think of it.
Well, we'll look it up with our producer here. How about your daughter's in fashion, coach? Any fashion follows, or any chance that we might see something on the sidelines that might be a little bit different? We're going to do some fashion pushing the limits here.
Well, I'm sure she would love to do that for me. She works for a company called Amber. She's a rock star, man. She graduated from Texas Tech in 2018. She is the lead designer for Amber. She's 28 years old. She did a dress for Taylor Swift for her content for her last tour. She's had a dress on People Magazine, 17 Magazine. I always tell my son, who's the wide receivers coach for Nebraska, I say, everybody wants to talk about you in my world because it's an easy conversation, but your sister kicks your butt every single day.
She's kicking butt. It is big too. I remember the 49ers fullback. I can't say his last name ever. Rip, how do I say it?
Kyle Juszczyk.
Juszczyk. His girlfriend ended up making those jackets that were so dang cool and took the whole world by storm during the playoffs. Fashion and football is coming together big time.
No doubt.
All right, let's close it out here. Last one. We got to go out with one for the Red Raider fans. You're a Texas native. You coached big-time high school football down there for a long time. So you've lived that passion that Texans have for football firsthand, and you're the perfect person to ask this question to. You're in Lubbock. It's such a unique place. It doesn't get the recognition that Austin or College Station does, but we still see the engagement and the commitment from the fan base. I see on Twitter all the time. You've attended games at Jones AT&T Stadium for over 20 years. What would you say is the 5-star thing about Lubbock and that TTU fan base that makes it just such a special place for football?
The one thing I tell people all this, they ask me, they say, what surprised you about being the head coach of Texas Tech? And I'm telling you, our fans it's just the passion that they have for this university. And going back to even Twitter, man, don't mess with the Red Raiders. They're going to come after you now. Like it's a full-blown onslaught if you're going to say something bad about Texas Tech. That's what it is. When you come into this stadium, there's 60,000+ people. Tortillas are flying on that first kickoff, and they are engaged throughout the game. I mean, they are really engaged, and that's what's going to be for people that have come out here before. This is an extremely loud stadium, but it's about to go to a whole nother level. We've closed in the south end zone. We're redoing the entire sound system. I'll tell you, August 31st, and then when your Sun Devils come in September 21st, they're going to be in a stadium that is extremely loud. And the Red Raiders, man, they're fired up. They really are. That's what surprised me. I thought I knew that they really love their university, but man, it's a whole nother level. It's different. When you have Patrick Mahomes on your sideline in Lawrence, Kansas on his bye week instead of in Cabo, like every other NFL, that should tell you right there. Ludwig, he's out here last week working out in our facilities and on the driving range. I mean, one of the best golfers in the world. That's just kind of how the Red Raiders are.
Rip the 21st, the Sun Devils. Do you think we can get out there? Maybe a breakfast at Spanky's, put it on our list?
Hey, you
Hey,
guys
if y'all
took our
I'll take care of you, brother.
you took our best player. You got Jalen Conyers now is a Red Raider, so we're looking.
He's a West Texas boy. He should have been here in the first place.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, I'm looking forward to that game. I love how the OGs too call it Twitter still. It's never going to be X, but you can follow this coach. It's at Joey McGuire TTU on Twitter. I think single game tickets go on sale next week. You mentioned that home opener, August 31st versus Abilene Christian. Hey, you've got the fan base fired up for year 3. We appreciate you firing us up. It's 5:30 in Hawaii. DK is already on it. Best of luck this season, Coach, and thank you again for coming on with the 1 stars.
Man, thank y'all. I'm on anytime, man. I appreciate you guys.
Special thanks again to Coach Joey McGuire at Texas Tech. He's one of those guys. We do these interviews. You find guys that you want to root for. He's definitely one of those. I only have one question. If we go to Lubbock in September, do we bring corn or flour tortillas? I always pick flour when I'm at a Mexican restaurant. Are we bringing corn or flour?
Same. Very important question. I'm also pick flour. The more authentic Mexican eaters I noticed pick corn. Select corn, maize, tortillas, Rip. But that's $1 million question. Which one do you bring? The ones that you like? Is there an answer? Is there a right answer to that?
I think the answer for us is whatever they actually use down in Lubbock. We're 1 star, so we'd probably bring the opposite. We'd be the one. We'd be the one with flour tortillas when 70,000 other people are throwing corn. But hey, I'll tell you what, I like flour tortillas so much. If people are chucking them in the air and I can catch them without them hitting the ground or hitting the ground for like 5 seconds, you better believe I'm bringing like a dozen of those things home and making some quesadillas for the kids, some cheese crisp. Value guy, man. I'm not leaving Lubbock without a dozen tortillas.
Oh, hell yeah. You're to pocket some home back to California for the kids, some floor tortillas. You would do such a thing. Yeah. You also graduation. You were the guy who didn't throw your cap either. I know Arizona State Sun Devil. You don't want to lose it. That thing cost you $300.
Lose it, get it dirty. You know me too well, man. I kept that thing on the head. I was also bald at that age, so I didn't want to get sunburned taking that thing off and throwing it up in the air.
I threw my shit. I think I lost it. I definitely lost. I had my gown still. I lugged that thing all the way to Hawaii. I lost it in the fire. But I threw my hat and I think I lost it. I didn't do anything cool or write anything on the top of it or put a tortilla on it. This man, value guy, ready to leave with his damn tortilla. I'd take a flour tortilla. I'd go right to the barbecue banditas. They specialize in Asian Spanish fusion barbecue in Lubbock, bro. How about that? They do some pop-ups. Their goal, they say, is to do sticky with sweet pineapple flavor and crispy on top. How magical are those words when you're talking about barbecue? Fucking everything. Put that in a little tortilla after a football game. Crack yourself a Corona. Heaven.
I don't even think you need salsa on that. So many flavors mixed in there already. No room for salsa on those.
Maybe a little pineapple salsa that might be too sweet. Yeah, who knows? Don't ever not say salsa. Rip from the Southwest. We're talking Texas and Southwest. It's a little salsa on everything. Salsa on eggs. Yeah, all the good salsas we represent. But a classic, it's something that needs to get a little bit more attention in college football. I think the Big 12 will help that. You got schools like we talked about, our Arizona schools, UCF. Some other of these schools will help with some of the funner activities, shining a light on it pregame and some of the funner activities. We know jump around in Wisconsin. We love that one. We participated in that one. So add this to the list, the tortilla toss. Rip will pocket some. I will take some to some barbecue joints and fill them up. I'm not taking no damn tortillas, bro. Dude, the Maui Invitational 2025 teams are announced, switching it over to basketball. Great squads, as usual. Always really good basketball squads headed to Maui in 2025. Back from Honolulu, we got Baylor, former school of Joey McGuire, Baylor, NC State, Oregon, Seton Hall, Texas, UNLV, and of course Chaminade, always participating in this lovely tournament. Dude, how much, Rip, do you think scheduling this particular Maui Invitational event helps in recruiting? Besides it being beautiful and a nice place to kind of go to, I kind of think it's a bigger recruiting tool during this social media era than when young men and women were just kind of wanting to go to schools because it was, I think now people want to do the pictures, the Instagram, and travel more than ever. So having this tournament booked on your schedule, 2025, 2026, 2027, I think you can use that in recruiting pitches.
Maybe, but I mean, when you think about it, with NIL now, if people are getting, these collegiate basketball players are getting 10, 20, 30 grand a month, I mean, they could take their own trip to Maui and take better pictures when they're in the off season, not even have to play. So I don't think it's as big as it used to be and as big as we think it is with NIL these days. I mean, Zach Edey's probably making 750 grand a year minimum at Purdue last year. He doesn't need a Maui invitational trip to pitch him on a school.
Well, that's true, I suppose. I guess you can hoop in Frisco, Texas, or in Texarkana, or down in Orlando, or you can go hoop on the beach in Maui. You know what? As a matter of fact, dude, Rip, I've been wanting to do this. There's a group from Barstool that I kind of have fallen in love with recently. Winston, hit the camera, just in case we want this clip. We can use it as a recruiting tool for our podcast here. I've been loving this guy, Frank Fleming, on the Barstool crew. He's walking every day. He used to weigh 500 pounds. He's lost over 150 pounds. He's walking every day, doing walks with famous people. He's losing weight, supporting his local squads in New Jersey. And I think he's a Dolphins guy and big Mets guy, supporting his squads, losing his mind. Also, big Seton Hall guy. So here's what I'd like to do, Rip. I'd like to invite Frank the Tank Fleming, Mikey Betts, and Jenks to the island of Maui, the beautiful west side of Maui, for this tournament. Big Seton Hall guys. I've seen you courtside at Seton Hall games carrying this team to success, who got robbed in the tournament, by the way, not getting invited to the NCAA tournament, got completely robbed. I'd like to invite you as my guest. I know all the great walking spots, beaches. I'll take you to a local luau. We'll have some Mai Tais, Mikey Betts. I know you're a huge Mai Tai guy. I know, dude, the best Mai Tai that exists on island. I got it. I got the spot. We could do some content at the tournament. Seton Hall, Frank the Tank. What do you say? How about that, Rip? Making pitches on our podcast right there.
I love the outreach. Let's have our guy Train clip that up. We'll tag Frank Fleming on Twitter and see if he responds. Shoot your shot. That's what we're all about.
Do a little golf. We'll see if that progresses. I would like to be your Hawaiian host, though, if you decide to come out for that tournament, gentlemen. Think about it. Good stuff, too, by the way, for anybody looking for motivation. This guy, Frank Fleming, man, losing weight, being very, very big, and making the decision that you do not want to be a huge human being anymore and actually taking the steps to it. I love to see it. And I know that a lot of people who are trying to get their summer bods right love to see it. It's going to be part of my 1-star moment of the week, as a matter of fact. We should just pull these out right now, Rip. 1-star moments of the week. Things that we talk about on this podcast that are 1-star that we probably should keep to ourselves. We're going to share with the world. I'm going to start because it flows right in with Frank the Tank Fleming. My weight, DK's weight, third person, this dude. Quick recap. Post-fire, which was about 8.5 months ago now. I dropped a lot of weight. I think it was with the stress and the move, but I got down to about 175, between 175 and 180, depending on my water weight. I like to blame everything on water weight. I don't know if that's bullshit or not either. I feel like 2 cups of coffee suddenly equals 7 pounds someday. I can't figure it out, but I'm getting older. I'm in my 40s now. I'm starting to see that this stuff sticks a little bit. You have 2 weeks of a bad eating week and a little bit off the exercise train. Holy shit. 7 pounds will fly back like fucking quick. I don't even have a good word to explain how quick. A slingshot, Rip. Who's the pitcher for the Pirates throwing 102 every pitch?
Oh, Paul Skeens, our guy, number 1 pick.
Paul Skeens, bro. I'm like, Paul Skeens is how I'm feeling sometimes with this stuff. So after my trip to Honolulu, which was about a month ago, it's been heavy rainy season here in Kalaheo, so I'm not out as much. All excuses. At this current moment, I weigh 188 pounds. It's unacceptable. 188. Michael Irvin with 100 in front of it this morning. And I'm getting back to 180. It's starting right now. I'm not doing this summer way. I got Frank Fleming, my guy, Frank the Tank, motivating me, getting his movement on. So I'm going to be posting some more fitness vids on social media, Rip. I know you're going out to Europe. Big baller here is going to Europe. As you go to Europe and get your steps in, just know I'm going to be here getting my steps in. By the time July 1st hits, I will be weighing in below 180. You heard it here first.
Wow. So I'm gonna gain 10 pounds in France. That's my goal. I'm gonna gain 10 pounds from pastries and croissants and crepes and whatever the hell else I'm gonna eat. And by the time I get back, you better drop like 5, I think. What'd you say by your birthday?
By my birthday? No, by July, by summer. I'm going to be
Uh,
feeling really good during the summer, bro. And that means I got to lay off some foods. It's going to be problematic for me. As you can see, as this podcast progresses, you might take on your France 15, freshman 15, France 15, real things. Something though to keep your eyes on. The amount of walking you do, you can burn that shit off pretty quickly, Rips. You just got to keep that body moving. You do some walking, maybe you do some sex, calories fly right off.
yeah, I got good metabolism, man. For me to gain 10 pounds in 10 days would be almost unheard of. I could honestly couldn't even do it if I tried. Feel bad for all the people who could, but I might gain a couple pounds. That's about it.
You could, Rip. Trust me. You do just in one day. You do 2 donuts followed by a bowl of ramen, just a huge salt bomb, and then maybe take yourself in a chicken pot pie for dinner. Quickest 7.5 pounds you've ever seen, Rip. You gotta try it with all the stuff that holds everything inside of you. That's how we do it. Team Skinny Fat. I'm the leader, captain, and starting forward for Team Skinny Fat. I'm an expert on this shit. What's your 1-star moment, bro?
I had a real life one this week, something that I hope I never have to see again. First time in my life, I pulled into a parking lot and discovered a guy who was unresponsive in a car and in a parking lot here in Long Beach. And fortunately, there were some people around who knew CPR. I got to take a class. I got to sign up. I took one years ago, but like those things, they kind of wear off a little bit. Chest compressions, all that stuff. But anyway, help get the guy out of the car, get him on the ground, called 911. I was on the phone with 911. I was the caller. And unfortunately, the guy didn't make it. He passed away. He was a 43-year-old man with a 6-year-old kid. Hits very close to home because I kind of knew who the guy was. And yeah, that's the 1-star moment of the week. I mean, I'm trying to be a little vague about it, but it kind of shook me a little bit. Didn't really sleep that night to see. Never really seen someone undergo life-saving measures for a half hour and not come back. And it was sad all around. Sad for the family. Sad for the community, and everything else. And yeah, it was just a true 1-star moment of the week right there. Something I hope I never have to see again.
Sorry you went through that, man. Very sorry you went through that. It's a good reminder to get your CPR classes updated. Something I need to do too. It's been about 10 years since I did my last class. Talked about it before too with my fight or flight stuff. I always think I'd like to get involved. But for all the bad in that situation, I love you, bro, and I appreciate you activating and doing what you can and trying. It's a reminder to all of us to be as prepared as possible in life. It's a crazy world out there. There's lots of stuff going on. There's lots of resources, and then until you're in that moment, whether it be a car accident, a health problem, something else, you have some decisions to make. It's all about being prepared. So listeners out there, if you're situationally in a situation like Rip where you're going even to events, CPR is a great class to take. Sign on up.
That's it. Just being as prepared as possible. I mean, they say you never know how you're going to react in that type of situation until it happens. And for me, it was easy. Someone said call 911, so I called 911. Fortunately, there were a lot of other people there, and the guy who was on the scene with me at the time had just gotten certified in CPR and chest compression, so he jumped on it right away. Like I said, unfortunately, it didn't work out. But you never know when you can make a difference, man. So like you said, take that class, be as prepared as possible for situations, and that's about it.
Thanks for sharing, Rip. Sorry again, you had to go. You went through that. It's hard. It's hard, man. I got your back. You want to talk about it? 1-star recommendation. Moving on. Life goes on. Pod goes on. The show must go on, Rip. Anything that we want to recommend to the world that made us smile or feel good or whatever. Mine is directly 100%. You could draw a line to it connected to my 1-star moment of the week. We can connect the dots. Connect 4. Which I will beat you so bad in Connect 4, Rip, if you want to battle. There's a beach setup down here in Poi Poo, Connect 4. You ever want to set up I'm a chess master at Connect Four, essentially, pretty much. But my 1-star recommendation, I'm a little embarrassed about this one. I don't care. I'm going to stand up for it. It deserves to have an advocate. This product deserves to have a voice. And people have been shitting on it for years. It gets slept on. It catches a ton of heat, and I'm sick of it. And for some reason, people think it's gross. I'm here to bring back Cozy Shack original rice pudding. And a big F you to all the haters out there who don't like rice pudding. I think it'd happen in elementary school or some crazy time of delusional life when rice pudding picked up a bad rap. I don't know how it happened. I don't know if rice doesn't fit into sweets as well or whatever. But to me, it is a heavenly combination of deliciousness, some rice pudding, RP, that I like to call it in my house, Cozy Shack. You pass by it every time you look at the creamer or at the yogurt at the grocery store. You pass right by it. You see tapioca and you see rice pudding, Rip, and I know you slide right by, scooch right by, disrespecting the entire Cozy Shack brand. So you get some RP, some whipped cream, and you just do a little top of cinnamon. Goat dessert.
I do like rice pudding. I'll say that right off the bat. I love with a little cinnamon sprinkled in it. But can you confirm, because you have a history of recommending only stuff that people can get in Hawaii. Can you confirm that this is available all throughout the United States and especially in Texas where our listeners are today?
Winston, can you get on Cozy? Yeah, Cozy Shack. You know it. Listeners know it. People are just, this is the black licorice of the pudding and just the side of pudding. This is the black sheep. They don't even put this with the regular chocolate and vanilla. This gets put separated with the creamers for some reason. And it doesn't deserve that, Rip. It doesn't deserve that.
All right. I like the recommendation. Like you said, this is not tied to losing weight at all. Because if you eat that Cozy Shack every day, you're going to put on 10 more pounds. But I appreciate the effort. My rec of the week this week, DK, you have an iPhone, as do probably most of our listeners. Do me a favor, look in the upper right corner of that iPhone. Do you see a percentage number or just a battery with an amount of life left in it? What do you see up there?
Battery with amount of life left in it.
All right, and that's what most iPhones are nowadays, the newer iPhones. I don't like that. They used to have the percentage displayed. It was like 50%, 100%, whatever. Do you know how? My 5-year-old taught me this trick this week. Unbelievable. These kids know everything. Do you know how to find the percentage number on there versus just a bar?
Oh, yeah. I use this tool all the time. Rip, you are so dumb, bro, technology-wise, your kid. You just hit that right corner, slide it down.
That's what it is, man. I just discovered that this week. Like I said, my 5-year-old, but I'd be willing to bet, man. I'm a 1-star, but I'd be willing to bet a lot of people don't know that.
How do you not access? That's how you access your flashlight, your focus. That's how you access a lot of your stuff. That's how you switch lock your screen if you're watching things you shouldn't be watching. That's how you do a lot of the tools, Rip.
Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'll get mocked because I'm the only one that didn't know. But if I can help one person know their battery percentage exactly, my mission is accomplished. Wreck of the week right there.
Oh boy, I'll take it. Let people know. I happen to be at 69% for all our Trash Talk Boy listeners out there. 69 out of 69. Rip, hit the music. It's time for Rip's reactions. One-star alumni Austin Eckler looking pretty good in the burgundy and gold as a Washington Commander. Saw him taking some snaps this week. Rip, how many TDs and yards for one-star alumni Austin Eckler as a Washington Commander?
Oh, man. I think he's going to be used really well up there. I was excited about that signing right when it happened. I think he's still got a lot left in the tank. He's one of the best receiving running backs in all of the NFL. I'm going to go 550 rushing yards, which isn't a ton, but I'm going to go 750 receiving yards, and he's a touchdown machine, so I'm going to go 13 touchdowns total on the season for Eckler.
No chance, zero chance. But listeners, this man's usually right. So if there's some early odds on that you like Eckler, he could be correct. I'm telling you, he looks really great in this uniform. Really, could be the exact fit that he was looking for. A little bit of lightning and thunder they got going there with the Commanders now. Rory McIlroy just dominated a golf tournament in Charlotte. He's headed to the championship in Louisville. Big Rory. In the middle of that, he has time to announce he's getting a divorce. Big divorce. Rory McIlroy, Rip, announcing a divorce in between a golf tournament and another golf tournament. Good for him to win or bad for him to win?
Well, as far as I know, he's been on a streak. He just won last weekend, right? So, I mean, maybe he's trying to kill his momentum. Maybe he's trying to keep it going. But obviously, for him, it sounds like it's probably a good thing. You know, the marriage didn't work out. He just won a tournament. So, like I said, maybe he's trying to keep that streak going post divorce. See what his record is next week.
Yeah, he doesn't want her in his ear for this major coming up. Big Rory. Lots of people think he's going to win this thing. We'll see. Keep an eye on that. That should make for fun golf and another little side story in the golf world. Congratulations, by the way, to Scottie Scheffler on the birth of his baby. WNBA season kicks off. Bay Area has named their team. Final name that they chose, the Golden State Valkyries. Rip, 1 to 5 stars. Team name. Go ahead.
I'm going to go 2 stars, and the only reason I'm not saying 1 star is because our guy Andrew Rossi from the Shooting 2 pod, who's heavily invested in that franchise, convinced me that the nickname could be the Valks. That's the only redeeming quality to me. The Valkyries is such an obscure name. It's such a difficult name to spell, and I think it feels like a little bit of that movie, The Legend of Bagger Vance, just a terrible title. Didn't make any money at the box office. The New Coke was the big marketing product back in the 90s that didn't sell much, and it was canceled within a couple years. One of the biggest marketing mistakes ever. I'm not in on the Valkyries. 2 stars, DK.
2 stars from Rip. The truth is, nobody ever likes team names when they get dropped. Ever. I've not once in my lifetime of 40 years when a team name has been announced has it been met with excitement. Am I missing something, Rip? Diamondbacks, Coyotes, when the hockey team started moving around, they started changing them. Everybody always hates them. Can you think of a situation when a name actually landed and people loved it from the get-go?
No, you're probably right. I mean, but the key is over time. Time kind of heals all this stuff, and it just becomes normal. I hated the Washington Commanders 3 years ago, but now it just feels normal.
As does life. Life goes on. Rip's going to be in Europa next week. Post a couple pictures throwing up the 1 star. When you get to some fancy places, Rip, some famous places. Let us know you're still alive. I'm going to get a podcast out, I think. Whether I do a solo one or bring in a guest, it will be determined. But I'll be with you next week. Hop on. Give us a review. Give us 1 star if you hated it. 5 stars if you enjoyed it. Joey McGuire, Texas Tech, Red Raiders. A lot of FS1 action this year. A lot of coming to your city this year in cities that they haven't been to in the past. So alumni, get your tickets ready. Tucson, get your tickets. Arizona State. Rip, have a wonderful trip, my man. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bonsoir. See you next week.